Alright, in this tutorial we're actually going to create the rollover navigation bar instead of a static text navigation bar. So to do that, we've already downloaded the template navigation bar from Blackboard and saved that to our desktop. We're going to go ahead and open that up. So I'm going to minimize Dreamweaver. By the way, the shortcut to do that on the Mac to hide the application is Command H. Alright, now that I'm on the desktop, I see that navbar underscore example.psd. I'm going to go ahead and double click that to open it up with Adobe, with Photoshop. If I expand this, I see what the links say now. So homepage behaviors, lifestyle, interaction, and endangerment. So obviously, first of all, we have 5 links there. You only need 4 for your site. And behaviors, interaction, and endangerment probably don't pertain to the content of the site that you will be creating. So the first thing you'll probably do is going to be modifying the actual text navigation there. So if you double click, let me undo that there. On the right hand side in the layers panel, I can double click on the little T icon of that layer, and as soon as I do that, the text becomes editable. So now that it's editable text, I can do anything I want to it. I'm going to go ahead and select homepage. You know what, I'm going to leave that. Let's see, this is for a kid's site, my audience, so should I say home or homepage? Probably home is a little bit more casual. Behaviors, let's see, for my site this deals with clothing, so I might say clothing or maybe products. And then lastly, what else would I sell? I'd probably be selling maybe accessories. Okay, and then lastly, instead of interaction, well, what sort of interaction? Let's see, I might say join our club or something along those lines. The rest I'm just going to go ahead and hit delete and backspace to delete all of that. Alright, so I've got my 4 links now. Those 4 links work for me fine. You'll note that I did not delete the separation, that vertical separation bar. Personally, I like that. I also like navigation bars to be in all caps just because it's different from the rest of the site. That might not work for you, so you can change it to uppercase, lowercase, whatever you want. The last thing, let's see here. The last thing I'm going to do is select all the text. And from my mini fonts on my system here, I know that there's a font called, I think, Charcoal. Let's see, Charcoal. No, that's not it. Chalkboard, that was it. Okay, so Chalkboard this looks kind of kid-friendly, a little bit of a goofy font. I'm going to get rid of some of these extra spaces though if I'm not happy. So I'll delete 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Alright, now that I've deleted the extra spaces, I might just move this to the right spot, maybe the center. And overall, I'm happy with this. I'll go ahead and accept those changes. So at the very top of the screen, there's that little commit button, that little checkbox. Just go ahead and click on that, and it will accept every change that you've made up to this point. So you should have modified the font, the actual text that is contained there. You might have modified the size. You might have also chosen to modify the color as well. So everything you can do just by double clicking on that T. When you do that, you should see this option, the character option. So that gives you font, color, size, and a bunch of extras. The next thing that you're going to do is probably customize the background, since green might not work well for you. I'm going to go ahead and open up the file that I have on my desktop. Where is that file? Which is the actual banner image. My desktop. Where is it? There we go. So I'm going to open up that banner image just for reference. For me, I like to see them side by side instead of tabbed. So now that I see them side by side, green definitely won't work for this color scheme. I could change that color, so I'm going to go ahead and do that so that it fits more of my design. Again, on the layers panel on the right hand side, I'm going to modify the letter that is called BG off. So I'll do that by double clicking on the FX icon there. If I double click on that, I see this pop up here, this layer style pop up. You'll note that the only option that I've checked so far is gradient overlay, but there are tons of other options here. So instead of this, you could apply any of these other options. I'm going to go ahead and click on Gradient Overlay to modify that. You'll note that the actual gradient is here. So it shows that it's going from a dark green to a light green, and I definitely want to modify that. So I'm going to go ahead and click anywhere in the middle of that gradient, and I get this pop-up here. So this shows me a starting color and an ending color. I'm going to just go ahead and choose the starting color. And black or dark green does not work for me. So for me, I might choose, this might be where I introduce the pink or the blue to the site again. I already know that the background color is blue for my site, so maybe a blue navigation bar might not be so bad. I'll choose that as the starting color. And then on the right hand side color, I've got to click on that little color box, and then I'll swap out the color for that as well by clicking in this box here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that same blue since that's my originating color, but as soon as I do that, it's a gradient from the same color blue to the same color blue, so it's not really a gradient yet. I need to change the color from this pop-up. So instead of choosing the exact same color, I might go a little bit lighter, see what that looks like. So that's not bad. So you see that any color that I change here is reflected. So going from, although the colors match, I'm not sure how that would look visually. Let me go ahead and go back to the blue as a reference and just lighten that up a little bit. So somewhere along those lines, that's not bad. I'll just go ahead and hit OK there. And OK one more time here. And one last OK. At this point, if you wanted to, you could add any other effects to this background. I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK, and I'm done with that. So now that I've taken the time to modify the background, instead of redoing all of that work for the next layer, which is called BG On, I'm going to use the same colors which I define in the BG Off layer. So to do that, I would right click on the BG Off layer, and I see an option there that says Copy Layer Style. I'm going to go ahead and click on Copy Layer Style, and I'll reveal my BG On layer by clicking on the little eye icon. Okay, so now I see that, and I'm going to right click on the BG On layer and this time choose Paste Layer Style. So that pastes the exact same effect that I applied to the previous layer underneath it. Since it's the exact same effect, it's not really an effect because it's exactly the same. So again, I'm going to click on the little effects icon here. So note that the layer now that I'm going to modify is the BG On layer. So I'll click on the effects and click on the gradient overlay, that specific style, and then the only option I'm going to really do is click on the reverse button. So you see the before and the after. That's basically what's going to happen for this site. So as someone rolls over an image, it's going to change back and forth as they move their mouse over the different parts of the navigation bar. Okay, so far so good. I'm almost done with this. The last thing that I need to do is set the site or this PSD to be sliced into separate images, since this is going to be separate links for each image. So to do that, I need to make sure that my guides and my rulers are viewable. So I would go to the View drop-down menu. So you see on mine that rulers is already checked by default. But what is not shown by default, and I'll go to the Show option for that, is Guides. So again, there's a shortcut for that. That's Command semicolon. I'm going to go ahead and click on Guides. So that's going to show me whatever guides happen to be existing for this PSD. So what I'm going to do lastly then is put my cursor over any one of those guides. As soon as I do that, the cursor changes, and I could drag that guide left, right, anywhere in between. What I really want to do is just line it up over that vertical line. So I'll do that for each of these existing guides. Okay, so in this case, I have one extra guide, a guide that is not going to go anywhere. It's really a something that needs to be removed from this site. So I'm just going to click, hold, and not let go until I'm completely off of this PSD. As soon as I let go, that guide disappears. Now let's say you had the opposite effect and you only had two guides that were showing there. Then with your rulers shown, you could just click anywhere on the left hand side of the ruler itself, click and hold and release in the appropriate spot, and you've got a new guide. So besides creating vertical guides, you could also create horizontal guides as well by clicking on the very top and dragging down. Okay, in this case we won't use a horizontal guide, so I'm going to go ahead and undo that last change. Alright, so now I'm ready to slice these guides into different regions. So on the On the tools on the right hand side here, I'm looking for a slice tool, and I don't use it that often, so actually I don't know where it's hiding. I think it's a crop tool. There we go. Alright, so if you click and hold on the crop tool, you'll see the slice tool. What I want you to do is make sure that you choose slice tool and not slice select tool. So make sure you choose slice tool. Alright, as soon as you do that, I don't want you to actually click anywhere in the PSD. I want you to click on above the PSD. It says Slices from Guides. Go ahead and click on that. And as soon as you do that, your PSD is sliced into 4 separate images. So those 4 separate images we're going to save out, just like we've done before, going to Save for Web. So now that I don't like this slice tool because if I accidentally click somewhere, it might create a new slice. I'm just going to go back to the default Move tool. And at this point, I need to see what's revealed in my layers. So right now I'm looking at BG on, so I'm going to go ahead and hide that so that BG off is selected by default. And I'm going to choose File, Save for Web. Okay, so I know that this is the off state. If you don't have 2 up, then just click over to the 2 up and you'll see the before and the after. In this case, everything is going to be saved as a JPEG, and quality should be 60. So if you got a slider there, just change that to JPEG and 60 quality and hit save. Alright, so this last one is interesting only because it's going to automatically save all images into a subfolder called Images. So it's kind of weird, but I'll show you that in just a second. What I'm really going to do is change where it says Example. So I'm going to call this navbar, and that's it. It's going to add the rest, like image 1, navbar 2, navbar 3, navbar 4. Since this is the off state of the images, or the default state of the images, I'm not going to add any other identifier in the file name. Alright, in the bottom here, the format is images. The setting is default settings, and slices includes all slices. I'll go ahead and hit save. Alright, so as soon as I do that, it saves out all 5 images. The next thing that I need to do is repeat that process, except this time in the Layers panel, I'm going to reveal the BG on layer. With that revealed, I'll again go to File, Save for Web. Same settings still apply. I'll hit Save. Okay, so in this time, however, instead of navbar, I'm going to say navbar underscore on, because this is the on state of each of those images. And then again, just hit save. Alright, you might want to save your actual PSD, so File, Save, and at this point you're ready to quit Dreamweaver. Go ahead and go File, or quit Photoshop. That's also Command Q. Alright, and I'm ready to go back to Dreamweaver. Alright, so I'm inside of Dreamweaver now. On the right hand side in my Files panel, I see that I have a brand new folder called Images. And then inside of that, more files. You'll note that the only difference for those files is the identifier that says on. So by default, all of my navbar underscore 01, 02, 03, 04, that is the off state. So I said before that it's going to save it to an images folder. Well, you already have an images folder there, so you can leave it as is, or you can change this to say nav. Okay, something slightly different. Alright, now that all the images are in the right spot, put your cursor in the second row of your table, or wherever you're going to insert your navigation bar. Mine just happens to be in the second cell, in the second row of this table. So now that my cursor is there, I'm going to go up to the common insert bar, and this time instead of image placeholder, I'm going to choose Rollover Image. Okay, so this is called Home, so I'm just going to call it Home as the image name. The original image, I'll hit the Browse button, and I had to hit that site root. It was going to a different location. I need to get inside of my Images folder and then inside of the Nav folder. And by default, the Home button is Nav 01. Okay. Then I need to go to my Rollover image one more time, hitting the Browse button. So it's the same exact file name, except that it's the on state of that image. Okay, the alt text would probably be Home, and then when clicked, it's going to go to index.html. So I can just type that in. Alright, once you've done all of that, hit OK. and you'll see your navigation bar, or the beginnings of your navigation bar, pop up. So just be careful here, because that first navigation element, that picture, is selected by default. So you need to make sure you click to the right of that picture to insert your second rollover image. So again, insert rollover image. This time I think it was, what was mine, clothing. Okay, the original image is 02. The rollover image is on 02. The alt text is clothing, and when clicked it's going to clothing.html. So be careful in your naming convention for the file that it's all lowercase, or it's all, well, that you remember whatever you call this basically. If you don't, then none of your navigation will work. So I'm choosing to do mine all in lowercase, and I'll hit OK there. Perfect, so far so good. Again, clicking to the right of the image, and again inserting a rollover image. So this time it was accessories, and the image is 03. The rollover image is on 03. The alt text is accessories one more time, and when clicked it's going to accessories.html. Go ahead and hit OK. Alright, almost done here. One last image, one more time. This last one is going to be called join. The original image is 04. The rollover image is on 04. The alt text is join, or join now, some call to action. And then when clicked, it's going to the page join.html. Alright, we'll go ahead and hit OK there. So as soon as you've done that, you have a functioning navigation bar. You might want to go File, Save All, okay, and then kick over to Live View within Dreamweaver. When you do that, you should be able to roll your mouse over any one of those images to see the actual rollover effect. Okay, the bad news is that if you don't like the effect, you have to go back to Photoshop, re-export all of those images, and experiment one more time. So make sure that you're happy with your design in Photoshop before you actually go through this entire process. So that's not bad, the effect is okay, so we did everything that we needed to do in this tutorial. Go ahead and make sure that you get out of live view to continue to develop your site.